Hello everyone, welcome to the Ozark Outpost. This is Global War 85, Operation Mars, turn 10. Okay, Warsaw Pact has started out the turn by repairing 7 damage over there in West Poland. For their tech, they moved chemical warfare to stage 3. They bought 8 mechanized infantry and 1 SAM. Their combat this time was pretty limited. They shot theater missiles at a major army base in Rhineland, or shot a theater missile at a major army base in Rhineland, which was shot down, so no damage. For regular combat, they did a surgical strike into northern Germany with spy satellite support. They shot 2 cruise missiles in there, and they hit 1 artillery. There was no non-combat movement. They left everything where it is. Their income on the chart is 19, plus 10 for computers, plus 6 for their holdings in Africa, and plus 2 for controlling the oil fields in Nigeria to give them 37. Okay, NATO. Let's see. It looks like NATO gained. Looks like NATO gained theater nuclear release authorization against Soviet Global. Yes, they did. I've got it marked on the dashboard. So they were able to get that. Well, actually, they got it automatically because the Soviets shot theater missiles at NATO facilities, if I remember correctly. For technology, NATO completed chemical warfare. For their buy, they got 2 paramilitary, 2 light infantry, 3 SAMs, 2 artillery, and 2 MBTs. Okay, on the combat front, they shot theater missiles into East Germany and West Czechoslovakia, targeting the major army bases, but both of those missiles were shot down. In regular combat, they did a surgical strike with spy satellite support into East Germany. The AA in East Germany decided to do air defense instead of missile defense, because this surgical strike was done by 3 cruise missiles and 5 attack bombers. One of the NATO attack bombers was shot down by the air defense. The others got in there and hit pretty big. They took out, well, between the cruise missiles and the attack bombers, they took out 3 artillery and 2 mechanized infantry. I mean, a 5-unit hit from a surgical strike is pretty devastating. In other news, in I-7, the NATO fleet that had been in the Mediterranean came down here to I-7 to womp on the Soviet Global fleet a little bit, to try and take some pressure off the Americans defending the convoy routes there. NATO's fleet lost the battle, but as you can see, they did quite a bit of damage to the Soviet fleet. Of course, they took a lot of damage in return, because right there is all that's left of the NATO fleet that went down there to attack. So they lost 2 frigates, 2 destroyers, a cruiser, 2 fighters, and an attack bomber. NATO's income is 45, minus 8 for lost oil. Gave them 37 in the bank. Okay, Soviet Global. Once again, Soviet Global rolled for a declaration of war against Iran, and they missed yet again. That's, I believe, 3 misses in a row trying to go to war with Iran. For technology, the Soviets, considering they rolled 6 dice, didn't do too good. They got stage 1 of advanced SLBM and stage 2 of SDI. For military aid, the Soviets decided to send Warsaw Pact 2 artillery and 1 artillery to Far East Command. For themselves, the Soviets built a paramilitary, a fighter, a Yak-38, 2 MBTs, and 3 mechs. Let's see, where's the rest of it? Where's the rest of it? Ah, there we go. I flipped the wrong way. Okay, combat. The Soviets, there had been a destroyer here in A42. There had also been a Soviet SSGN in the area, shot 3 P700 granites at this destroyer and sank it. Yeah, it was a destroyer. Sank it. Up here in A19, another Soviet SSGN fired 3 P700s at the U.S. fleet there, but they missed. In A4, A4, right here, north of Iceland, the Soviets sent in a screening force to attack an American SSN that had been in this zone. And as you can see, they sunk it and did not incur any losses. So then they decided to do an amphibious attack on Iceland to try to take that. They lost that battle. They went in with 2 Marines and some air support, and both of their Marines were killed. Over here in Scandinavia, the Soviets, as you can see, successfully attacked Gotaland. They captured that without loss. Hungary, down here, Hungary, if you remember, had been occupied by NATO, and there was a successful counterattack there with battlefield nukes. Soviet Global, they attacked from western Ukraine here into Hungary, won the battle at a cost of 2 artillery and 1 next generation MBT. Lazio, down there in Italy, you see in the middle. 2 cruise missiles were shot at the minor army base, which did 2 damage. Soviet Global shot theater missiles at the major army base in Rhineland and the minor army base in Benelux, and both of those theater missiles were shot down. NATO's missile defense troops have been doing outstanding job of keeping the barbarians at bay. And then the only real significant non-combat move the Soviets did, other than grouping air forces there at Svalbard, was they shifted. We're going to cover it now because it affects them now. Their surviving fleet from I-7 here shifted over to I-11, and then this destroyer and SSN had been here in I-15, which is part of the Pacific Far East Theater. So those two naval units were able to cross into the European or Western Theater, whatever you want to call it. They had to stop at the first sea zone they entered. So the shift here allowed these two to actually join them to make them a little stronger. Okay, Soviet Global was an income of 42, plus 3 for some holdings up there in Scandinavia, plus 7 for computers. Gave them 52 in the bank. Okay, US Global. On tech, they completed SDI research. So, and they got stage 2 of advanced manufacturing. The completion of SDI means that US Global now has the 3 technologies that it needs to score that strategic objective. They have completed advanced SLBMs, strategic defense initiative, and I believe the other one was advanced sonar. I think. Don't quote me on that, but I believe so. Okay. U.S. Global rolled for successfully counterforce nuclear release authorization against Warsaw Pact and Soviet Global, and they did so because of they got their roll attempt because of their progress on SDI research. For military aid, they decided to send Pacific Command a fighter and an attack bomber to NATO. For themselves, they bought 2 Navy fighters, 1 A-10, 2 mechanized infantry, 2 MBTs, and they started a new space launch facility. Okay, for combat, U.S. Global here in Suez decided to launch a counteroffensive into Western Egypt with battlefield nukes. They lost the battle and retreated at a cost of 2 artillery. But what they accomplished was Warsaw Pact for land units only had 2 mechanized infantry in there, and those were both killed. So all Warsaw Pact has holding this now is air units. And as you can see, they don't have anything in the pipeline that they can move in there to bolster that defense. Okay, in A44, right there, that's where the Soviet Global SSGN had been that shot the missiles into A42. Well, this American SSN came up here and sank it, as you can see, without loss. In A39, right here, the P-3 Orion came over and sank a Soviet diesel electric boat that had moved over to that zone. In A-15 up here in the North Atlantic, as you can see, P-3 Orion shifted its patrol over there and sank the SSGN that had been there. That's the one that had attacked the U.S. fleet there, so it's now gone. The Americans, on a previous turn, sea-lifted, a couple of turns, sea-lifted their Theater nuclear missile over to Picardy, France. And this turn it became operational and it fired at a minor army base in Hungary and scored 7 damage. East Germany, the U.S. launched a surgical strike with 2 cruise missiles and a stealth fighter, and they all missed. East Germany, I'm wanting to say, if I remember right, I'm wanting to say their SAM did air defense and it missed. Or maybe they, well, I don't, anyway, their SAM missed whatever direction it shot. So the American income is 54, plus 8 for bonus, minus 2 for the occupied oil fields in Nigeria. Plus 1 they saved, puts 61 in the U.S. Global Bank once again. Okay, now we have Far East Command. Far East Command chose to repair 3 damage. And I believe that was over there in Uzbekistan again. Sorry, it's been a few days since I played this, so some of the things I don't remember, and my notes are as sparse as they can be. Because of American SDI research, Far East Command was able to roll for counterforce release authorization against PAC, and they achieved that. So everybody is making progress on their strategic nuclear attack profiles. Okay, for their build, Far East Command did 4 paramilitary, 4 MBTs, and 1 SPAG. For combat, they went just screaming into Qinghai with everything they had available, and as you can see, they barely squeaked out the win. It was also battlefield nuclear combat. The win cost them 2 artillery, 2 mechs, and 3 MBTs. But they now have captured that, and they repair this damage next turn. They will have another minor army base right up there on the front line. They also shot a Theater missile at the Space Launch Facility in Gansu, just to the north here. They did 8 damage, which was added on to the 6 damage already incurred to make 14 total, which was just 1 under what was required to destroy the facility. Far East Command's income 17, plus 9 for Chinese territories held, plus 1 for holding all of Manchuria, and then plus 3 for computers, put 30 in their bank. U.S. Pacific Command, they rolled for counterforce release authorization but missed. For their build, they built 1 amphib, 1 attack helicopter, 2 marines, and 1 frigate. In combat, they did another surgical strike on Guangxi here. Same thing as before, the B-52 out of Guam flew the long route with the dog leg to avoid interception problems. Shot 2 cruise missiles in there with spy satellite support, and they hit 1 SAM. Okay, the U.S. Pacific Fleet decided it was time to get in on the action, so they came over here to P-28, and they threw down the gloves and started swinging at the Soviet Pacific Fleet. They won the battle, but it cost them a few shekels. They lost 2 frigates, 2 destroyers, 2 SSNs, 1 cruiser, 3 fighters, and took 1 damage to the battleship. So, okay, there we go. So the battleship there, and those 2 carriers and the amphib are what survived. And the carriers each have an attack bomber and an air superiority fighter. One of the carriers has an ASW chopper and 2 Vikings. So those guys went into port. They went into, okay, let me look here. I may have done that incorrectly. It looks like I did. You can't go into port at minor Navy bases, so they were not able to go into port. They're still out there steaming around. There we go. See, a little housekeeping correction on the fly as we film. Okay, and then P-41 right there. You can see the Orion went in and dropped on the Soviet diesel boat and missed. So the diesel sub went to silent running. Okay, Pacific Command has an income of 27, -4 for lost oil, put 23 in their bank. China just has a single major army base left. They're in Zhejiang, and they missed on their roll. With their income, they bought 4 mechanized infantry. They did no combat. They placed their mechs, 2 of them, in northern Yunnan to oppose the Soviets there in Qinghai, and then the other 2 they put in Zhejiang to help defend that zone. China's income hasn't changed. 6 plus 3 for independent arms sales and 7 for computers makes 16. Ozark Outpost. Over and out.